Next on our agenda is a notice of intent, public hearing, 170-235, a continuation of a public hearing for Patrick Layton, who seeks to demolish an old barn and build a new one in the riverfront area in 100-year floodplain of the Connecticut River at 105 Honeypot Road. This is a hearing that we've had continued a number of times for additional information and also for peer review. And James, can you bring us up to date as to what has happened since our last meeting?
So the peer reviewer finished his work and got the report done, and basically he had looked over the property pretty carefully, and the only comments that he had were one, that the compensatory storage had to be slightly larger, and Patrick has made a change on the plan, and also that there needed to be more of the riverfront mitigation area, and Patrick has gone in and expanded that area as well. And then I guess maybe like Monday or something, dropped off this map and also emailed the addendum that I forwarded to you guys. I think it was Monday night.
I will honestly say that because of my schedule, I was not able to look at that.
Yeah.
So we were at another meeting last night.
Right.
Oh, that's right.
Yes, we had a late meeting last night and been here tonight and worked during the day, so. All right, so would you like to bring us up to date?
Well, the last time we met, 2 months ago, we decided to send it, as Janice said, to the independent reviewer. He came back with the 3 recommendations, and I think I've put here, I've got his 3 recommendations at the top. His compensatory storage needs to be 2 cubic yards, riverfront mitigation needs to go to 1898, and we need to discuss whether the ferns are sufficient to qualify as mitigation. So in response to requirement number 1, the site plan now includes here an actual rectangle that describes we're going to do 6 feet by 20 feet and dig out a ½ foot down. So that comes out to about 2.2 cubic yards, so it's 10% over what was additionally requested. On the mitigation area, if you have this, the first picture.
I don't, oh, the addendum?
Yeah, on the addendum. Here, I do have little copies.
Yeah. Here's one of them.
Here's a. Anybody else?
Yes, I have not had a chance to look at this, so.
So on the first one, on the first picture, you can see the yellow tape. The area in the foreground was the initial mitigation area in the first proposal, and the shape in the back, a trapezoid essentially, is the additional area. And I think if you see up in response to requirement number 2, it shows we actually measured it out exactly to 1674 square feet from before. We had estimated it at 1,500, so it came out pretty close. And the additional area is 754 square feet. And here is my actual plan of how I came up with that area. My son and I actually surveyed it at 2-foot intervals that you can see here for mitigation area A. And then mitigation B is just a geometrical shape where you take an area. So that came out to an additional comes out to a total of 2,428 square feet, well over the 1,898 that the independent reviewer asked for. As for what to plant, I did submit on the next page for requirement 3, and you can see a couple pictures where this year's flood really did, you can see the erosion that it can cause. And call it the berm, this area, which you can see on the site plan, is right in the floodway. So we're not looking so much at plantings that can survive being underwater. We're looking at plantings that can survive some kind of very strong current that's running through here. When the current is running, you might have a hard time in a kayak going up against it. It's really shooting. I think this year particularly, where there was a flood that was quite a bit higher than last year. Last year's there was very little flood. And this year you could really see the effect of it. As I wrote here, I think that ultimately what's going to happen is that it is going to just take out everything there. And on the other page, the picture at the top is directly upstream of this berm. And you can see how the current has literally just cleaned it right out. And I can anticipate pretty well that that's what's going to keep happening. You can see in the picture in the middle on the left where the berm just to the right, you can see the area that is outlined with the yellow tape. And to the right of the 2 maple trees that are one of the spots in terms of monumenting. It's right at the end of the retaining wall. It's going to just clear that right out. I think it's going to end up, frankly, in a few more floods resembling the other part, and it will return it, I think, back to beach and take all of that out of there. So in terms of planting, I really think that, and you can see on the right-hand side, that what works is grass, is low types of plants that do not withstand the current. In some regards, the Japanese knotweed is an absolutely perfect plant for this kind of situation because the canes on them will break rather than withstand, and then the water around it will then erode it out. And I think that fiddlehead ferns have really the same effect. If you go up the river, those of you who've been on the river, you go up the river, you go to Boy Scout Island, go along the inner bank, particularly Boy Scout Island, it's just carpeted with the fiddleheads. It's a perfect plant for it. It is herbaceous, but it also propagates through its root system, very similar to what a Japanese knotweed does. They're real hard to get out because of all of their connectors. So I think it actually is a plant that probably evolved specifically for being in this kind of way. In terms of monumenting, as you can see on the site plan, I think that on 2 sides you have the large retaining wall that I would anticipate is going to be there for a while in terms of knowing where this mitigation area is going to be. There's stairs that actually go down to it, where it starts. There are pipes. The only corner that is not got a monument in it is the one at the leading edge that I call point A. I proposed I can bang a pipe in and paint it red. I'll paint the other one red as well. I'm not totally confident that the pipe would stay there. Probably a road around it. There were a couple other pipes there that the flood very definitely erodes around. So we'll see, but I think that on 3 sides, the area's pretty well delineated.
So where are the 3 pipes? I see pipe C.
Right, so we got a pipe C, we got the stairs here, is in terms of where we're starting, we got this, so this really,
That's A?
that's A,
Okay.
all right? I mean, we have the end of the retaining wall is point D, but that point right there, I'm not totally confident that 10 years from now, a pipe there would last.
Well, it might be worth sticking in and trying to
Or-
keep pounding it.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't take but 5 minutes to pound it in there, you know, and then wait and see. But
Is it possible to record where these monuments are supposed to be in
GPS.
existence to
Well, I
a
think
existing
that-
building? So that if it does disappear, you'll know where to put it, because your building's hopefully gonna last more than 10 years.
Yeah, but I would say that retaining wall is gonna last longer than any building. That retaining wall is a concrete retaining wall, 10 feet high in some places. That's gonna be there for a very long time. So I think that you know, that particular map, I think, you know, 100 years from now, somebody could take that map and walk down there. I think the beach will be very different. It's a very dynamic situation.
It's a river, it's changing.
It's changing all the time.
Yeah.
But there are some parts of it, as in that wall, that will, I think, be there.
So I told Patrick it was up to you guys to decide whether you're satisfied with the explanation about the use of ferns rather than doing woody vegetation in there, ferns and grasses.
Well, Japanese knotweed is not native.
Right, so we can't have that.
Spinnifex ferns
Can't have
are
that, yeah.
the native species.
Mhm.
So I think that we should stick with something that would be growing there anyway.
But Phil, do you mean the ostrich ferns?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah. I think in the proposal, I actually put the
Thanks.
species name in there. In the original proposal, I think it is.
Is that those yucky things that they sell in grocery stores?
Yes.
Oh. You ever try it? No. They taste
It's not
like
the same anyway.
And I will also do it in terms of the grasses, of the wetland grasses. We'll see what actually, it's a mix of like 30-some grasses. So we'll see what actually survives.
Where is it, which grass?
Where is it? On page 3 of the original proposal is where
On this addendum?
it is.
Or-
No, on the
Oh.
original.
Oh.
Um,
You mean the original notice of intent?
Yes, the original notice of intent from December's meeting, I believe. I had December 6th here. So it's, and I'm reading here, Matuccia struthiopteris.
Okay, yeah, that's not good.
I have a question. I'm looking at the plans here. It looks like you've added stairs on this plan.
No?
This plan doesn't show any stairs. And you've got
Yeah, I think
hand-drawn
because,
in stairs here.
yeah, the stairs have been there for decades,
Okay.
long time. I think it might be, and in order to do this, I needed to actually draw in exactly where it was.
Right.
And it looked to me like when the surveyors did it, the idea was where is the top of the riverbank? And the stairs basically connect the top of the riverbank down with the area that we're talking about. So I would say technically they're below the riverbank, and maybe that's why they didn't.
Okay. Here's the thing. It's off the corner of the brick. Right here. Okay, so they just didn't show them on the plan.
Right.
Okay, you've given us a lot of information. Unfortunately, I don't think any of us were able to read or go through the addendum. It just got emailed last night, and typically, I would like to have a chance to read it and to look at the plans you submitted. Edwin and I were at meetings last night till 9 o'clock, and then I leave for work at 6:15 in the morning, so.
Can we discuss now in the sense that, you know, I'm not sure how much more information you might want on the compensatory storage.
Well-
There it is.
Right, I mean, it's just a
Um,
matter of, you submitted 4 pages of writing and information, and I'm not gonna take the time to read this right now. I mean, you reviewed it for us. The other hearings that we've had tonight was submittal of very specific information that we asked for at the previous meeting, not really submittal of new information. So, I mean, it's up to the commission. I mean, I would like to have a chance to at least look at it.
I think the majority of what I have written in there in the long commentary was on the plans, in the sense of why I think that the berm, as I call it, that you see in the pictures, is going to disappear. And that planting bushes, etc., is not going to, I think, last very long. Why it didn't happen before, I do explain in there, I think that what actually, why it lasted for decades and actually was growing very nicely. I thought the brush was established enough that would hold. And it did to some degree last year. It ate about 5-6 feet out of the front of it. But then last year's flood wasn't really much to talk about. This year it was. I do put the explanation in there in terms of the shopping carts that I had to, and I removed 3 years ago. They were there for quite some time, decades.
Illegally put there by you.
Pardon?
Illegally put there by you.
Yes, yeah, I agree. And it was removed, but one of the effects of putting those there was to actually slow the current, have it deposit the silt, and thereby start to grow what turned out to be a kind of nice little micro ecosystem. I'm more than, reconciled to that all leaving and turning back to beach. You can actually see in a picture there where it is turning back. Excuse me, go ahead.
I don't understand whatever happened up in that area. I don't know if your carts had anything to do with it, but there used to be one huge beach out there years ago when I was younger. Gorgeous beach, and it's not there anymore.
Wait, say that again?
There used to be a substantial beach going out into the river where your house is, where Sharon's house is, and that's no longer there. I don't know if what you did had any effect on it over time before with the shopping carts, but that area's changed dramatically from what was there 20 years ago.
In point of fact, I think I might actually
That was
point
all
out that
beautiful
the
gravel
beach is actually much, much bigger than it was
Oh, much bigger.
in 1974. You can, the pin that is shown on here, according to a survey taken in 1960, the pin, this pin right here was the edge of the river.
The question I have
The
is,
beach, where we're looking at in terms of beach, when I moved in here in 1974, the beach cut very close in here, to the point where it was endangering my property above. And the beach has gotten bigger and bigger and bigger from there. It's on the inside of a curve and it's net deposition. And you can see that. If you actually measure it and go back over the years of the surveyor, you can see that beach going further and further out.
the other question I have is the mitigation area. It's required to be an area of Japanese knotweed?
No.
No Japanese.
No, but
He's talking about continuing to
2
remove
to
it,
1
that he's been
mitigation.
controlling it.
2 to 1 mitigation.
okay, 2 to 1. But is he proposing that he's getting rid of that much invasive species in that area? Is it
Well,
part of
The
mitigation?
Japanese knotweed basically took over after Hurricane Irene, which brought down with enormous amounts, and frankly, with the berm there that traps it, it must have trapped a fair amount of Japanese knotweed, and that's when it started.
You don't have any proof that ever existed there, the knotweed, to begin with.
I did have one, I do not have a smoking gun picture. However,
Oh.
there was a picture that you actually sent. I believe my neighbors took it in
Right.
2013, that you can see the Japanese knotweed in that picture.
That was right in front of the shopping carts, or right in the shopping carts area. And I thought you were a little
Yeah, and
over
over
from
to
that.
the left, I think the picture,
The question I have is, was there actually ever 1,898 square feet of Japanese knotweed there to begin with?
I don't know, probably, I don't know.
even more.
Well,
It went way over the berm. It totally filled the area from the steps over.
and it was
And
all,
it took me,
and it always was in front of your place. It wasn't in front, Sharon, did you have it in front of your place?
No, sir.
I question the existence of Japanese knotweed there that much. We have no proof of it.
And also there was none by the shopping carts, because I took that photograph.
I don't recall ever seeing it. I go up and down. Japanese knotweed, I know exactly what it looks like. It grows 12 feet high plus. It's left unabated.
but you
And
would
it
not
goes-
be able to see the property from the river in terms of where the Japanese knotweed is. It's behind all of the trees right along the edge of the river. As you can see in the picture, then the addendum at the top of page 3, you can see, right? There's the big swale in the middle that's right in line with the area we're talking about, and then you have on either side, you have might even turn into an island at some point. You have the new brush coming up. That's where the beach is going out. When you say the beach is smaller, in point of fact, what's happening is the beach is turning into length, as in the silt that comes down on
The
it.
question I
and-
have is, you're claiming this area existed. I don't know if it ever existed, that you mitigated already. by eradicating the Japanese knotweed to begin with. I question, we have no proof there was that much there. You can only claim something if it existed as part of mitigation. And I don't see any of that.
I'm not sure I understand totally why we're focusing on the Japanese knotweed.
No, you're claiming
It's
that's your
inherent-
mitigation. You're getting rid of that much of invasive species in return, a 2-to-1 ratio, to compensate for your work in the riverfront area.
And I'm going to return that area to an original species, to
Well,
the ferns that would populate that area.
But I question the fact whether those existed to begin with.
You question whether the
Japanese
ferns
knotweed was there
at all.
at all.
So you're,
See, I guess
I would
I
suggest,
understand-
mister, that we look at my neighbor's extensive videos over the last few years, as well as photographs that I believe she has shared with you. She has on several occasions been here and given you CDs and all the rest. Now, if you would like me to go through that, they've never shared them with me. I haven't seen any of it. I'm sure that they would show pictures of that.
okay.
I believe that there is a fair amount of Japanese knotweed there. There is an explanation, Mr. Pelletier, for why it actually would only deposit, or it would show up on my property, because it showed up at the area that specifically deposits from the river. Everything upriver, as you see in the picture in the top of page 3,
So you're saying,
would be a current that's running straight
so you're
down.
saying it was captured by your shopping carts after Hurricane Irene?
Yes, after Hurricane Irene is where it showed up. Now, I'm
By the illegal
hypothesizing.
shopping carts?
Pardon?
By the illegal shopping carts that you planted there?
Yes, I do believe you've stated that before. I-
Otherwise, they wouldn't even been there if the carts weren't there.
Perhaps.
Up to the rest of the
And
board.
I think what his point is that whenever anyone has ever done mitigation in riverfront area, prior to conducting the mitigation, the area that's going to be mitigated is well documented. And I think what Gary's saying is that you're taking credit for mitigation that's already been done, which typically we don't, when you're doing mitigation, you mitigate for something that exists, that you're, so that's, it's kind of like a
Yes.
a
And
catch 22 here.
I acknowledge
where-
that. All right. However, I am asking the board that we've been doing this for 2 years, and I basically started maybe 2.5 years ago, 2 summers ago, getting rid of Japanese knotweed. I mowed it at first, boy, it was that a mistake.
Yep.
All right,
Yeah,
then I
just,
start digging it, then I'm trying to using Roundup. Last summer was digging it and digging it. The root systems are really deep. I got rid of a fair amount. I agree that I did not wait, all right, to actually mitigate it. And frankly, one, I didn't realize that this was kind of the whole process we were in.
Well,
And even if I had realized that, to have allowed Japanese knotweed, considering how fast it was reproducing in the absolute perfect niche that it could possibly grow in, it was going by leaps and bounds. By
And
now,
God,
it would have been
huge. There's a case where you kind of hurt yourself. You did the same thing of cutting down other trees here at the property illegally that we documented in the past. You've just gone down here willy-nilly, done whatever you wanted to along this riverbank. And you admitted it, you've done it already with the Japanese knotweed. We've already caught you before cutting trees down there you weren't supposed to. You've done
One tree.
You've done
Well-
a lot of illegal activities down there that weren't allowed.
So I would certainly agree with that, Mr. Pelletier, and I have certainly been here, and I think that I have done all that you have asked me to do. when you have asked me to actually take care of that? Have I not? And
We've been
are
down
we
in
here
in
at
the
the
past
point
for
where
other
you're-
violations, and you just continue to do those all along. I've been witness to a lot of that.
I would,
I'm not cutting you any slack.
So I guess, kind of move this forward. We have continued a couple hearings to April 5th, not the 12th. I would like to be able to look through the information you submitted, figure out whether or not I agree with the monumentation that you're proposing. If there's something different, I would like to compare what you've submitted to us, not only on the plan, but with the addendum that we got last night. It was emailed to us last night, and I would like to continue to April 5th, so we can just hopefully put a close to this and have everything wrapped up. I don't feel comfortable, just getting this and looking at it. Typically, when people hand us documents, we tell them it needs to be continued. If Janice gets major plans or changes the day of the hearing or the day before, we have always asked people to continue so that we have a chance. She has a chance. I mean, our agenda tonight is huge. Just her preparing for it didn't give her much time to put things together. So, I mean, that's what I feel. You've heard Gary, guys, we need you
I
to
think-
weigh in.
Does
I
anybody
think
else,
getting this information tonight is, we're not,
does anybody from the audience have any input they want to add?
Okay, let's get the commission
I think we
first,
need
yeah.
to review these. I agree with Paulette. I just got this just now. I was at a meeting till, actually, I didn't get home till 9:30 last night. And I just didn't have a chance to look at this. And it's not that we don't doubt you, you speak very well, but whether or not it's what's in here, I don't know. That's just my opinion.
okay, if that's what the board
Just to
wants,
so we
one
can-
more isn't gonna,
You wouldn't be doing work down there in this time of year anyway, so I don't think continuing to April 5th. Because we moved it up from the 12th just because that's election night. So right now we've got it for the 5th.
okay.
Right. Steve, you got anything to add?
No, that's, sounds fine. It would be nice to end it
Okay.
next month and get all the eggs in the basket and end this once and for all, you know?
It has gone on for quite a long
Yes, it
time,
has.
Yeah.
and we would like to wrap this up.
Yeah.
I know you do, but we would too. Now, and comments from audience? Yes, sir.
If I may, thank you. For the record, Tom Reedy, an attorney with Bacon Wilson in Amherst, here on behalf of and with Ms. Pittman, and that was going to be our request. We've just become involved in this matter. We also have some concerns that have been identified by the commission, and we've just seen the plans today, so the board is somewhat, the commission has taken the work for us. We were going to request a continuation to your next hearing, just to give us an opportunity to look at it. I've already had a conversation with the applicant, and if it makes sense for everyone, there would be some ongoing dialogue between us and Patrick, so.
Whatever reason.
Okay. Anyone else? No?
I would hate to interfere with this filibuster attempt, but thank you very much. I gotta go.
So can I have a motion to continue, I guess, let's see, that's yours. Maybe if we continue to the next.
Thank you.
Okay, we have 1, 2 continued, so we would be able to continue
And he
this.
said he's going to possibly continue to?
Well, we'll
Friday.
continue these to
Yeah,
7
Friday,
o'clock.
sorry.
All right, so we would need a motion to continue to April 5th at 7 o'clock.
So moved.
All right, I need a second.
Second.
All right, any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we will see everybody back here April 5th.
Thank you.
All right, so I
Thank
can
you.
give These are, they're just missing the very top thing, the last, that's the best I could do.